Hello and welcome to the Slava Heroyam podcast. It is 14 February, St. Valentine's Day, the year of our Lord, 2026. And today we're going to talk about a different kind of hero, two different kinds of heroes. We're going to talk about an Olympian and doctors, specifically surgeons that run a hospital in Odessa. We'll also be going over rather than going over the usual folks who we've been lost during the week, we're going to honor other Olympians who have been lost over the course of the 4 years of the war. And finally, we will talk about two brand new sister cities and what the sister city program is. And then we will talk about one way you can help Ukraine with our organization of the week, our humanitarian organization, which is sonyansky.org. And I'll tell you about that one in a moment. They all came from the same meeting where I sat down with Ukrainian surgeons from Odessa earlier this week. And we have a little bit of a dinner conversation that I had with those folks to share with you. They are way too busy running a hospital in Odessa and had a little bit of time to sit down with us last Tuesday and some other folks. So they don't really have time for a podcast, but I do have some good sound bites. But first, our first story is of our first story is of Vladislav Herashkevali, and if I'm saying that incorrectly, please someone let me know. This is his Instagram. He was an Olympian skeleton racer. Looks very similar to the luge to me, except you're on an even smaller vehicle than the luge, and you race on it. You race face down, so basically you're going 300 something miles an hour. And I believe this guy was also the flag carrier that I featured in last week's episode, where he was talking specifically about his brothers and sisters who couldn't be there. He just wanted the world to not forget about Ukraine. And on his helmet, as you will see, he had the pictures of not just fallen Ukrainians, but fallen Olympians, people who, were it not for this war, would be competing in the Olympics. Somehow they found out about this helmet before he competed, perhaps because of his preliminary trials or something of that nature. And the Olympic commissioner, and I really should know her name, the head of the International Olympic Committee, came and visited him at 7:30 in the morning, and she discussed with him the option of compromises for not wearing the helmet. And eventually the Olympic Committee came back and said that he would not be allowed to compete. Let's listen to Vladislav talk about this a little bit.
Театр абсурду. Вчора у своєму зверненні речник МОК Марк Адамс говорив про те, що спортсмени мають бути рівні між собою. І саме цим аргументував заборону використання цього шолому.
It's fundamental that there are equal rights for all athletes.
І вже пізніше того ж дня американський фігурист вшанував своїх загиблих у авіакатастрофі батьків. Ще 2 дні до того американська фристайлістка також вшанувала свого колегу, який трагічно загинув кілька років тому. І, звичайно, за це вони не отримали жодних санкцій. Ця ситуація могла б слугувати ідеальним прикладом терміну «подвійні стандарти». Раніше ми просили, а тепер ми вимагаємо дозволити участь у змаганнях у цьому шоломі. Адже очевидно, що ніяких правил ми не порушуємо. МОК продовжує перед...
So what he's saying there is he's pointing out a lot of hypocrisy of the International Olympic Committee, that there was an American and other Olympians who were the names of people they were honoring that they'd lost, that they weren't, some of them weren't even other Olympians that would be there. Israel did the same thing with, did a political statement for the lives lost during the initial October attack. Those weren't Olympians. He's remembering people that would have been on his team, and the International Olympic Committee is not allowing him. Now, this has been talked about on some other channels who could get to it right when it happened. But it made me mad too. It made me kind of want to boycott the Olympics, cancel subscriptions, and I realized that not enough people were caring about it. And that is a little bit of the microcosm of the whole situation with Ukraine, is that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, you'll hear the surgeons talk about this too, that one of the most important things that the Ukrainian people need to know is that they aren't forgotten in this fight. People have almost gotten to the point of, I don't know if it's exhaustion, or they think they don't understand that the tactical situation is changing in Ukraine. They don't understand that Russia is approaching a place where they could lose at any moment. The things that are not understood about Ukraine, and the things that aren't understood about the atrocities that happen every day there, contribute to this sort of increased distance. And so getting enough people to care and speak out is one thing, especially when American athletes, and it's kind of, again, in microcosm of the whole world, the American athletes are having to spend their time to speak, not against this particular infraction, but against things that are happening back at home. And that is kind of where we're forced to turn lately, in that we're all in this same struggle, this same decline of freedom, this same sort of where normalcy has gone out the window in favor of a new normal, and people have got to speak out about it to return things to a new normal for democracy, for people's rights at home, but also abroad. And there's one thing I want to say about the International Olympic Committee, and I am not by any means an expert about what that's made up of, but I've seen other experts who are an understanding of how the International Olympic Committee works, that it is still very Russian influenced, and there's nothing scarier to the Russians than to put faces with the names of their victims. And that is one of the things that I have been trying to do with this podcast, and it is what Vladislav was trying to do with his. So let me switch over to this beautiful. Through the miracles of AI, we're allowed to see the spirits of, there's Vladislav himself. And there he is, an actual. And the slogan that they've put forward is "Remembrance is not a violation." And here are the various athletes that would have been at this Olympics or at the next one if they are a summer athlete. You'll notice some of them very young. Malshav Yevin, 19-year-old, killed in a battle for Kharkiv. 25-year-old figure skater, would have been at these Olympics, killed in 2022 near Bakhmut. Well, you'll notice as a lot of these folks did become soldiers. Combat mission, strongman. I have shared some of these Olympians with you in the past. One of them being Dianchenko Katerina, who was 11 years old, killed in Mariupol. That's a big story. Judo, 2022, killed with her mother in a strike on Kyiv. 15-year-old killed in a strike on the Dnieper. I believe she was in her practice area in the ballroom dance. Again, these are all folks that were on his helmet. 32-year-old track and field. Combat. These are all people that would not be in combat, would not have joined the military, but felt they had to. A boxer, 22 years old. Some of these folks would be combat medics. A hockey player killed in action. I'm not reading all their names because I would murder some of their names, or I would mess up some of their names. Maybe murder is not the best word, since a lot of them were. A lot of them are soldiers, but some of them were even doing their practice. When they're killed during Russia's attack, that happens every day. Another one killed in Mariupol. Some of these folks are in what is now occupied territory, especially the ones that were lost in 2022. So would they have been able to get out to even go to the Olympics? I don't know the answer to that either. Here's one that recently happened. She participated in the some of these folks participated in the 2022 Olympics, had a whole bunch of medals. We talked about her on our last episode. So these are the people that Vladislav wanted to remember. And so I am hopefully you will remember them with me. Vladislav was awarded the Hero of Ukraine, the highest civilian version of the Hero of Ukraine by Zelensky recently, and Zelensky made some statements on that as well. So Vladislav is our first hero of the week, and he is worth mentioning because he has given up his chance at a medal this time. I'm praying that he was back in 4 years, and when we're back in 4 years, victory has come, and I don't know at what point Russia would be allowed back in, but victory might mean Putin is replaced, and we have a very different Russia as well in 4 years. So here is hoping and praying for all of that. Okay. All right, let's see here. So here are two of the surgeons that met with us the other day. Here's all of us. We had a little dinner party to have a chance to have a discussion with them, and we just had the best discussion. I've taken some moments from that discussion to have their voice with us, but they had to return to Odessa as of yesterday to go back to helping civilians who were under constant bombardment. The main doctor that you'll hear from is this gentleman right here. His name is Dmitro, and let's see. I'm going to try to say it right this time. Dmitro Bayezitov. He was also, his father also joined us. He was a surgeon, so this is a family of surgeons. living in Ukraine, and they are some of the top surgeons in Odessa. They came to learn from surgeons at SMU. And one of the things that there's some things that they've pointed out to us that, the hospital has had to handle both military and civilian people. You'll hear them talk about that. You'll hear them talk about the threat of drones and being bombed being a daily undertaking that they have to get ready for. You'll hear things about where they're falling short medically, where they need help with equipment and medicine. I have gotten some questions about Americans going over there to help them, and that is that you can. But really, what they need more than Americans helping as paramedics and things like that, or ambulance drivers, is just American churches getting involved and sending missions to talk to the people in their churches and let them know that they are not forgotten. So we'll hear that all be discussed. Let's listen to the first clip. It is a 2-minute clip. And make sure. The hospital would expect a certain amount of injuries because the building's being hit. And so you have to prepare for the...
We are preparing each day. I know how many free beds I have for a bombing. And when the bombing started, I'm calling to the duty doctors and asking them not to get those beds. Let them be free. And the administration knows about that. So we are telling them each day how many free beds, women, men beds for women, men, there is space. So some percentage of beds, we're leaving always for extra situation.
And this is kind of how you just have to live every day, preparing for the next one. Yeah, that's tough.
That's why when we're in here and here, when the plane goes out under us, it's kind of like unusual, and we're afraid a little bit of reactive engine. When we hear, we're thinking that this is a missile going under us. I do not understand. But the specificity of Odessa is that half of the city doesn't have a land. So it's going straight on the seashore. And when the drone goes from the sea, you can't stop him in the sea. You're trying to shoot him already in the area of the city.
And that will make them.
Then use it. So every life is important for us.
Absolutely.
So we were teaching for that. It's in our mind. And we're so grateful to people who are trying to help us. For example, Leo, he brought us in here. He showed us other world, I would say like that.
Totally,
and the people are very kind in here. They're asking all the time what we can help with. For us as the medics, the main is medicines and the equipment. For the teachers, it could be a nice books, something stuff for kids for studying in the schools, universities, and so on. So each one in its specialization, thinking about the help. For army men, they will tell you, give us a missile tanks and so on.
But you heard them say about some basic necessities that they're facing there. Pastor Leo is the person who brought them over to talk to the SMU doctors. So they're very worried about being attacked from both drones overland and drones from the sea. Let's listen to the next part.
Prescribe not their kind of medicine. It will work on the patient, but it's not in the list that you have to prescribe. Pharmacy committee,
The formulary.
And it takes a while time. A lot of medicine that come, they have almost expired, and until the bureaucracy will get them in hospital, they're already expired. But there is kind of problem because burning of 110 voltage to 20, even if we put the stabilizer and switch the voltage, still the amperage is a little bit different, and the lamps also burn and we do not have that land in Ukraine. So you need to wait until it's shipped from US and Europe.
Or maybe from Europe because they have 220 voltage.
For surgeons, the main is not a land, it's not a medicine, it's do a correct operation. As my teacher told me.
What he's talking about there is a lot of their medication. By the time it gets to them, as it goes through all the parameters it needs to get through to get into the country, when they get medicine, and the Ukrainian government only allows certain kinds of medications and doesn't allow others. It is a healthcare system like many in the world that is socialized. So the people don't pay for their healthcare. Imagine that, being in the middle of the war and having healthcare. But now the problem is when you're also in the middle of a war and you've been in war for 10 years, your equipment starts to go out of date. So he's talking about lamps burning out. He's talking about medications being expired by the time they get the medications. So he only makes $500 a month as a surgeon, whereas compared to here, he would be making double six figures, that kind of thing. So it's the effect that 10 years of war has on a nation. But they aren't like some third world country that doesn't have the kind of technology that they would. They have very modern medicine that they can help and save the lives of both soldiers and civilians that are being bombed. So let's listen to a little bit more. Can I just hit it here?
We already test out that good made operation doesn't need a treatment after. So you need to do the best from you to make an operation so the patient won't need a medicine treatment after that. And for good operation, you need a good equipment. So good instruments.
Right.
That's
Hemostasis, we need threads, for example, atrial surgical, something like that.
So it will not go
I'll give you an example. The people from Germany, through the Baptist church, they gave us a bed, nice one bed. And it was 30 beds with 30
nightstands.
nice stands with shelves for a patient. And they were actually like 10 years old, but their quality is way better than Chinese, for example, beds.
Very good condition.
Yeah, very good condition. And when the the long vehicle get to the hospital, all the doctors came out and were helping to carry it out because one weight of the bed we count was 160 kilos.
Oh, wow.
But they're good quality of it, and it's so flexible for a patient. It's very nice. So we're not talking about just like drugs, equipment. Any kind of help is good.
So any kind of help. We talked about they were so appreciative just to get 30 new beds from Germany. And he often talks about the cheap Chinese stuff being not as good as what they would get from the United States or Europe. So you can have a little bit of pride there, but they still need our help.
okay.
Yeah.
A lot of military men we have that are without legs, for example, we need to give them crunches for a while until they will get their, prothèse.
Have you?
Other apparatuses like walkers or something of that nature.
Walkers.
Yeah, the workers are stayed in the hospital,
So they're talking about walkers and crutches for soldiers. Even those can run out, and they have to keep the walkers at the hospital, but they like to be able to give each soldier that ends up with being an amputee that type of equipment to take home with them. So this is more of the type of equipment that when you're thinking about humanitarian aid that this country needs.
The patient in the hospital, he can use it, it's normal. But the trenches will give to military men so they can get
Take
home.
it with them. Yeah.
Full time breaking, there is nothing that is instant. So sometimes we refill it with a humanitarian missions. For example, for now we have all the surgical tables are mechanical, and it's like 30 years old. And you need to.
Oh my gosh!
It's a good. Sometimes it's hot, and you can't burn a patient, but you need it immediately.
That is the voice of Tamara, the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, who is put this discussion together. And she does this just after coming back from Ukraine Week in Washington, D.C. So she's been very busy as well.
On the other way, we need to protect civilians from all kind of oblasts, from all regions. It doesn't matter. They're calling to our hospital. You have free space. Okay, we have free beds. They gave us 10 military people, and the other day they called. We're saying, I'm sorry, we do not have free beds because we need to let for 5 to 10 beds for extraordinary situation, and they remove it to the other hospital. But they're coming in good shape, really.
Is it still true that you cannot tell relatives to the relatives of military patients that we don't have such and such medicines and go and buy?
For military? No, it's restricted. We can't do that.
So if you have them, they can help.
We keep kind of like a little amount of medicines for military, and if we do not have medicines for civil, we're trying to ask them to get in our situation and to buy something. Not everything, but just what you need. But I try to ask my general nurse of the department, of my department, just all time to keep extra, for sometimes extra, just to take it and give the military now. No.
So they're talking about they've got to keep and set medicines aside just for military people that come back from the front. And sometimes that can be conflicting when your cities are being bombed all the time and you also have injured coming in from the cities, experiencing some of the same shrapnel wounds, buildings falling on them. Earlier, he talked about in the first clip how they've got to set every morning. They say we have these many beds. Now they're treating people just like normal patients that need surgeries that happen during their regular lives, but they set aside each day, so many beds for just in case they get bombed and people get injured or killed in the bombings. We'll hear a little bit later, how frequently that happens.
Besides equipment, because, for example, if there is a patient after a drone attack or missile attack with a shrapnel all over his body, I don't want to make him a big dissection to take it off. I want to. We're doing it under not CT scan, but CT like a small X-ray, that's around the table.
Laparoscopic?
No, it's like X-ray. So they
X-ray that around, we see the patient on the table, and not just a graphic picture, it's dynamic picture. So we're barely...
like a CAT scan?
No, CAT scan is huge. Doctor told me it's 2 days ago, before each of the planned operation that we plan, we need to make ultrasound of heart to see if there is any risk for anesthesia. It's 2 days ago, before each of the
Hopefully y'all are hearing this.
Operation that we plan, we need to make ultrasound of heart to see if there is any risk for anesthesia. And the cardiologist told me that ultrasound is broken. There is no other ultrasound. Cardiac. It's a little bit different from the abdomen.
This is an example of problems they encounter. This one of being a broken ultrasound and how they have to work around that because they can't always get new equipment.
It had a Doppler inside, and I asked my friends, engineers, to work with the technique, try to fix it, but I'm not sure that they're gonna do it. And we will take a risk to do operations without that examination, but we have to do it.
Would it handle differently?
You see the difference in quality. Yeah, it's kind of like portable butterfly ultrasound, but it's just for fast protocols to see if there are any liquid in abdomen. But for examination of heart, it's supposed to be really good ultrasound, but it's a dynamic organ.
So the large one?
Yeah, the big one, just for cardiac. For abdomen, it's okay portable. So we are not working only as a surgeon. You need to know everything.
Quite a manager.
Yeah, we
And
can.
make like one list that it's necessary, and the other one is like a wish list.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's something coming. Some hospital will decide to donate something.
As I told before, we will be grateful for already used instruments.
Yes, they use.
We will re-sterilize them, and as, for example, in laparoscopy, that I'm working all.
Dr. Kroner.
So that's a big thing that humanitarian organizations can try to realize. If they're trying to raise money to get new medical equipment, it's neither here nor there for them. They'd love that. But if you can get some used medical equipment to Ukraine faster, if your organization can do that, and we're going to talk about one such organization helping that can do that, or if you're a sister city with a city in Ukraine, for example, we're going to talk about that program here in a minute too. These are the things that you can be working toward to help with any hospital or medical facility in Ukraine. They just need used equipment that they can set up quickly to replace stuff that is frying out on them, like that ultrasound.
His friends received 6 laparoscopic towers used because the hospital decided to sell them and buy a new one. And they said, maybe you will not sell it, maybe you will donate.
Just donate.
They donated.
For example, we have a word, so you need to understand. One of it is analog, digital, so it's about 20 years old. And other one is a digital, but quality is not so good because it's Chinese. It's cheap. It was cheaper, yeah. So we're working on that. But the main equipment, because the tower will stay for like the analog one for 20 years, and you still keep working on it. But the instruments, it's like 10, 15, maximum 20 operation, and you need to throw them away. Wow. It's like in the car, yeah. It could go and go, but you need always change the. And when we have a message like there was drone started from that kind of aircraft from the Russian territory, from those they won't get to our city. Oh, this one. For example, 7 p.m., yeah, they probably at 12 p.m. be our place. So we're not going sleep until we see if there is alarm or not. If not, okay, that's fine, we keep going. A few times, that was a kind of like messy attack, and my wife was shaking
She
me.
is a doctor as well.
Yeah, she's a doctor also working with me. And I wanted to show you a video of the drone flying over our hospital.
So it really is... a medical family. His wife's also a doctor, but he said, we can't go to sleep. They do have drone alerts. They have an alert system. They even have an app that will show them kind of the inbound drone strikes coming. So the civilian populace has a lot of warning, in addition to most of these drones being able to be shot down. But even then, it's still not enough. Even then, you're still going to have them hitting apartment buildings and schools and in hospitals. And I was kind of surprised that this hospital wasn't targeted when he showed us a drone that flew directly over the hospital on its way probably into the Odessa port. But he says, thankfully, we haven't been hit yet, so I'll knock on some wood. I don't know if the Ukrainians have that superstition, but let's pray that their hospital never gets hit, because there have been maternity wards being deliberately targeted. Maternity wards are a favorite target of the Russians as of lately. Okay.
Did this hit your husband?
Yeah. No, it doesn't hit, it just fly away.
Okay.
Thanks God. But we had a conference and I came out from the building. And
So even in this video that he shows us, you'll be able to hear the sound.
I will not be afraid. I will take a cut of it once.
Try to. Yeah, it's a Shahid.
Yeah, exactly.
Hear what they
21st of
sound
November is 11 a.m.
Maybe I can
Right in
find
the
a similar video.
Yeah.
But this is his personal video.
When the Odessa was
I
founded,
don't
there
have
were a
access
lot of Jewish people, and it was like quarters of them. And
Again,
the
I
first
apologize
hospital that
for the
was
sound
founded in Odessa,
quality.
It was founded
We were at a
for
dinner
of Jewish people. And
process
it's
here
called
rather
Jewish.
than a place for
Yeah.
Еврейская,
We
Jewish.
still have
Еврейская больница.
So a little bit of history about
in
their hospital.
The death of the last names of the Jewish people who gave their money, shared their money for this hospital.
To build
Yeah, to build
yeah.
it. It's more than 200 years, this desk. And actually we found it when we were making a repair in hospital. It was covered and the repairing man started to taking off the cover of the walls, and and they found the desk. And now it's sedated in my department.
Oh, yeah.
Probably covered up during the late 30s, early 40s.
I think even after revolution.
Yeah, mostly after.
This might be a difficult question to speculate on, but if you didn't have to deal with conflict and war since 2014, do you think the hospitals and everything would have more modern equipment?
Yeah, I think a lot of money from the Ministry of Health is going on the military. Now it's the number one. So we need to treat them.
So it does say, if we didn't have to deal with 10 years of war, and it is more than 10 years since 2014, that they wouldn't be having all this rundown equipment. They'd have some of the better equipment. Their surgeons are trained with them. They can be a surgeon with some of the best in the world, but their equipment problems and their medicine problems are something they see. A lot of Americans, we're traumatized because we spent 15, 20 years fighting in Afghanistan, and that didn't end well. I've talked about this before. And people think, well, it didn't end well because we don't understand the culture of these people. So how can we bring them freedom or protect their freedom if they don't want it? And they compare that to Ukraine, thinking the same thing is going to happen. But I really am trying to show people that it's not.
Can I answer to you on
Yes.
that question? It's historical fact. No one never took Afghanistan.
Right.
Even Alexander Makedonsky, he get to the Afghanistan and stopped. No one ever. Soviet Union, no. Anyone who wanted, he didn't get it. It's I don't know, something.
This is true.
We can't tell. Yeah, it's historical fact. I know that. And we're not Muslims. We're Christians, so we're a little bit different people. We live there with our families. We're afraid of our families. In Afghanistan, they're not afraid. Even kid will take a gun and go and shoot. In Ukraine, we're protecting our kids.
So he's talking about Ukraine doesn't use child soldiers. Ukraine isn't tribal, but the way he described Ukraine not being a tribal situation like Iraq or Afghanistan is that now they're fighting for their families, but he also is talking about historically the tribalism in the area of Afghanistan has meant that anyone who tried to conquer the area failed. Not that we were trying to conquer the area, we were trying to restore freedom to it, but you can't impose a type of government on a region that is unconquerable as well. Or you can't effectively arm Kabul. Well, I disagree a little bit. You can, because if those folks wanted it enough, they could. But that wasn't his larger point. The larger point was they weren't tribal. Not that a Christian nation is divided religiously. Afghanistan and Iraq do have religious divisions that cause their tribalism. The Ukraine has had trouble with trust in its institutions, just like we're experiencing, and trust with the people in the East versus West versus a language issue, which was used against them. But once invaded, they're all fighting for their own families is sort of what he is describing here. So it's something they will fight to the last man for, is their freedom.
We're not allowing them to have a military trauma.
Right.
And for me, for example, it was a little bit embarrassing when I was driving by the street in the village and the kids were just drunk on the road with the handmade gun machines and were playing in the middle. They're not supposed to do that. They need to be a kids and play football, play tennis, play computer games, and like that. They need to have a childhood.
That's a good question. How will the children of the war period, 22 to hopefully 26?
We'll see the results
Yeah,
in 10, 15 years.
That's why Leonid try to create that, he's creating this drama healing because people need it so bad.
And I told him when he was at our hospital, he was praying with our patient. They like it, really like it, because they were saying that not only doctors taking care of them, they were talking with them. They were asking of their problems, they were telling their story, they prayed. And I told Lenny that we need to heal not only body, we need to heal ourselves.
Yes.
Also. The man who feel that someone taking care of him, he wanted to take care of his brother right behind him, to do the same as someone did for him. We need to teach our people this.
We all recognize the strength of the Ukrainian soul.
We do not have other choice. Also.
Yeah.
Behind us is only one.
Yeah.
It's-
One of the speakers there is
I saw
Jim
one
Rice,
person state
who runs a
that,
nonprofit
how
that
he
we're going to
deals
talk
with
about in
it
a minute.
Is that I go to bed at night, in the morning, I wake up and go to work, or I don't wake up and don't go to work. And just the thought process of
I had kind of like this situation. I already told some people. I was at the barber shop, and the missile go to the building right close to the wall to wall, like about 50, 70 meters further. As Eskender maybe heard about it.
Yes.
A huge missile.
Yeah.
And, all the
Ballistic.
room was ballistic shake. The window goes out. The mirror was like shaking with a wave.
Yeah.
My barber, he was so afraid, started screaming, running around. Yeah.
Oh, he didn't give you a bad haircut though.
We're not afraid. There was a missile. Something fell down. We even don't know what. I told him, you have your arms, you have your legs, and it's already
Gone.
has been.
Yeah.
So what are you worrying about? Just finish me.
I realize too, surgeons have to be strong and they keep on.
So he told a story there about being in a barber shop, getting his haircut, and an ICBM Iskander missile blows up a building nearby. His barber kind of panics, and he has to calm him down and say, if we were in any danger right now, we'd already be gone. So this is a daily kind of thing for Ukraine, but somewhere in that city nearby, people were not okay, and they just have to get through it together. It's kind of a funny story, but not so funny, with dark undertones to it. I like what he says to wrap up here about helping your neighbors and helping your own community.
A lot built up. How do you release the stress
You need a therapist.
Okay.
of the trauma that you deal with daily? Because not only the war,
Because it's building, the stress is
I have
building.
a few
building.
times,
Yeah.
like during the operation, I had a massive bleeding. It happens, it's normal. But I was not panicked. I started with my fist. I was thinking, I was praying. I asked for help, and I just come down and finished normal the operation. Everything was fine. We need to learn how to stay calm down. Not to scream, not to quarrel, not to be mean on our neighbor, and so on. We need to think about our neighbor first, then about us, and the neighbor will think about you, and everything is going to be fine. My nurse asked me, I'm working as a chief for 2 years, and she asked me, Dr. Dmitrov, have you ever been mean? I said, why I'm supposed to be mean? Sometimes there is,
Like
during the
any-
operation, some of the doctors screaming, cuss wording, and so on. I never heard from you this. I said, it will make the operation shorter if I'm gonna scream or what.
Yeah, it will not change.
Would have a good.
Well, some doctors are.
So you're just talking about being, he's really just talking about the golden rule there. Worry about your neighbor, and your neighbor will worry about you. I like that a lot. And we can do that in our local communities. But I think of Ukraine as our neighbor in a world that is disconnected, this interconnected. it is, that's where we can have an impact, is on the people right next to us. But increasingly, at the same time, our very small world needs each other, and we all need to think of each other as our neighbor or our brother or our sister. If you do that, all these fears of immigration and scarcity and how can we help them if we can't help ourselves, they'll be the ones that come help us too. That's what it all comes down to, is if you're helping people as your neighbor, regardless of where they're from, helping them do things legally, there's nothing that we can't accomplish humanely, where we can't defeat those who would use fear and terror against us. Be they great big bombs, be they people pushing us around in the street when we're just trying to speak our mind, all of it. So we heard from Jim Rice, and there's some things that doesn't seem like I'm going to get to. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I wrote last week, where SpaceX, not just Elon, is a big hero, in that somewhere in here is some people who figured out how to block Russia from using Starlink. So somewhere in there is a hero that I'd like to shake hands with, because it has really messed up the Russian war machine, and it might even get to the point where Ukraine can mount a counteroffensive. We'll see how long that confusion lasts and that desperation lasts. Also mentioned to me in this meeting was that Tulsa is partner cities with Sumy. Now, if is this up here? No, it's not. Tulsa is partners with Sumy. Sumy being a city in the region, northern region, when after Ukraine invaded Kursk, Sumy was invaded by Russia, and now they are facing the same style human safari in Sumy, with drones constantly attacking civilians. That is also happens in Kherson. And there's the Ukraine-Tulsa partner signing. So the city of Tulsa and the city of Ukraine, Tulsa, Oklahoma, formal partnership, and they'll build relationships. They'll build industries. They'll get them some of that used medical equipment. And then, of course, help out the Ukrainian nationals living in Tulsa, many of them refugees from the war. When cities come together like this, you're showing that helping your neighbor attitude that Dr. Dimitro was talking about. Another way you can be a neighbor and help is through organizations like this one. This is Jim Rice's organization. Am I saying his name right? It's Jim Rice. So, Humanitarian Assistance and Relief. The name of his organization is Sonia Shiki. That is the word for sunflower, which, we've had another organization that I featured called Sunflower Seeds for Ukraine. But this is a great organization. SoniaShiki.org. Let's put this on the banner so that people can check it out. There it is. So please go visit this website, SoniaShiki.org. You'll be able to donate towards generators, some of the Ukraine, some of the metal equipment for Ukraine that we've been talking about. Here's the board. Jim Rice. Jim Rice was speaking with us at that meeting, at that dinner party that we had, and they need a recruiting member. So I'm hoping to have Jim Rice on the podcast soon, maybe next week. But we'll be talking to him more about his organization. So that is the podcast for Valentine's Day. If it isn't as possible, you can message me, leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to my Substack and the YouTube channel. And help support the Substack. Help support this podcast. Help it grow, so that it can reach as wide an audience as possible. Because I want to share the stories of brave Ukrainian surgeons like Dmytro and soldiers and any organization trying to help out the war. And let's especially let the Ukrainians know that we have not forgotten them here in the United States. For today, that's our podcast for today. And as I always say, glory to those who support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And Slava Ukraini and Heroyam Slava.